will go from left to right in the white trimmed in burnt orange. The kick will go in the direction of Jenkins. That's Aaron Jenkins at the left hash. Gets it out to about the 20-yard line before he's brought down.
And Andrew, I mean, when you look at the numbers in the first half of the sophomore quarterback, Tyler Perrone, they have really been quality. They have 94 total yards in the first half. He's got 98 passing yards through the air. I mean, we mentioned that the running game has been a non-factor for Waynesburg, but considering all of the things that they have asked Perrone to do, he has really helped his cause. He has stepped up big, and he has kept Waynesburg competitive in the first half.
This is Perrone with Austin Wilson in the backfield. The give to Wilson, off tackle left, and he is wrestled down for a very short gain.
Well, I mean, the biggest factor for Waynesburg in the second half is they're going to have to get this running game going. I mean, they have totaled -4 yards on 13 carries. That's mostly a credit to the Spartans defense. But, I mean, if you're going to get any type of balance here in the second half and maybe put some points on the board against a defense that has allowed no points in the second half this season, you have to have a little bit more balance. You got to get more out of your running attack.
That's the tough man to stop, Ian Henderson. 2nd down and 8 to go. A sweep again for Wilson, spinning ahead near the 30-yard line, still short of the line to gain. 3rd down and about 2 to go.
You know, and most of the 3rd down situations that Waynesburg faced were 3rd and, well, a lot more than 2. So this is actually a pretty good situation for Waynesburg. Definitely have to feel a little bit more confident about your odds, but you have to continue to be aggressive and roll the dice.
Tyler Perrone trying to bring his side back from a 28-7 deficit. The Spartans scoring 14 unanswered points after Waynesburg got within a score, and now breaking free down the left side is Austin Wilson. He is finally tripped up by Daniel Fabiniak out to about the 17-yard line of the Spartans.
Well, it was a good thing that Case Western Reserve was able to prevent the touchdown, but that is as good a run as we will probably see all night by an individual running back. Big hole between left tackle and left guard, and I think that Waynesburg really has to attack that side of the field. They've really been running right. You probably want to see them run left a little bit more because it got them a big opportunity right there, and definitely the right guy to give the ball to in that situation.
That's about a 60-yard run by Austin Wilson.
And he's going to need a breather out after that one. I think anybody in the right mind would need a breather after a run like that.
And they will give him a breather. Timeout called by Waynesburg. It is their first. They really want to not only give Wilson a breather here, even though it looks like he won't come back in for this play, but also take their time with a red zone opportunity.
Yeah, you talk about red zone execution at this point, and this is one of a few situations in which Waynesburg has been inside the 20, so they have to capitalize.
Jeremiah Doswell-Hardrick on the carry. Gets a good chunky yardage out to about the 13-yard line, gain of 4.
And the Jackets definitely have to rely on the size of their offensive line. They have some pretty big guys, especially at the guard positions with Tanner 6 and Hunter 6, you know, really packing it in with size and strength. And, you know, going forward, Waynesburg is going to have to rely on those two guys, especially to help out their running game and really add another dimension to their offensive scheme.
Doswell-Hardrick still in there, 2nd and 6 from the 13. Walker, the motion man. They'll fake the give. Perrone out to Walker for a Waynesburg touchdown. Walker just slipped out from the slot area. He was playing behind the right guard and slipped out into the defensive secondary. Check out this pass by Perrone.
And I think that the pump fake probably set that up, although it didn't seem, or at least it was hard to see if the secondary for the Spartans was going to bite on that pump fake, but an excellently thrown pass by Perrone.
Those are the first points scored against the Spartans in the second half all year, and Tyler Perrone gets a big touchdown for his side, cutting the Spartan lead to 28-14.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to complain about at all with his performance here today. Now, he was rushed a little bit early, but you know, probably about halfway through the second quarter, they really started to get him a little bit of time, and the offensive line was, you know, playing and protecting him a little bit better. But I mean, he has really held his own. I mean, the numbers have been really, really good. The one interception, you know, again, nothing you could do if you were him in that case. But I mean, he has really exceeded expectations here against one of the best defenses that he'll see all year.
And you take away that interception, if you were to erase that completely, you're looking at a one-touchdown game, Eddie. That turned the tide incredibly. Without that interception, the Spartans don't get that fan touchdown pass. Waynesburg probably punts the ball away, you would imagine, and the Spartans get the ball with like 30 seconds left in the first half with maybe one shot, two shots at the end zone. They might settle for a field goal if they get into the red zone. But I think without that interception, you're looking at a one-score game now. Otherwise, Perone, outside of that interception, which, like you said, not his fault, it's a pretty tight ball game. Perone trying to battle his side back. They're 0-3. The Spartans at 2-0 entering tonight. Cody Calhoun spinning away to the 22 and taken down. First in there was James Jackson on the stop, his second tackle made on special teams tonight.
And another thing, Andrew, you know, what were the odds that the Spartans were even going to get the ball at that time? I mean, they did have a timeout to use, but, you know, in Waynesburg, if they kept it on the ground, would have at the very least forced the Spartans to use that timeout. But, I mean, it was just a perfect storm for the Spartans. You get the turnover, you get the touchdown, and you get to keep the timeout, which ultimately didn't mean much because they didn't use it. But ultimately, it was just a win-win for Case.
Handoff goes to Burke on the near side, and a very good saving tackle. Otherwise, there would have been a ton of space for Jacob Burke. Instead, he gets tripped up by Vashon Graham.
You know, I think the biggest thing in this game is that it just did not take Jacob Burke long to heat up. Really, ever since his first or second carry of the game, he has really been at his best here tonight, and that spells trouble for opposing defenses.
2nd and 1 from the Spartans' own 31. They lead by 2 touchdowns. Kuda with the give to Burke. He's got a first down out to the 35. And Eddie, speaking of timeouts, you mentioned that 2 plays ago. We thought Waynesburg had been charged with a timeout. They have not, so they still have all 3 of their timeouts. So not sure what that stoppage was after that long Austin Wilson gain, but no timeout taken there. Both sides have all 3, and that'll be important to note later on in the ball game. A close look at Thomas Strayer taking over at center for Gage Blair for the 2nd week in a row. The injured senior center, Strayer doing a great job. Burke on the carry out to the right, gets about 2.
Yeah, you really can't say enough about the play of Thomas Strayer. I mean, most of the time when you lose a senior center, I mean, you're going to feel the effects of it, but really the Spartans have not skipped a beat. And I think the fact that Strayer played for the Mentor Cardinals may have had something to do with that. That's a pretty darn good Division I high school football program that turns a lot of great players into collegiate athletes.
By the way, that was Zach Hall on the carry, not Burke. Burke will check back in. So Hall gets the give. They'll give him 3 yards. 2nd and 7 from the 38. Kuda will look over the middle. He's got Zipko. Zipko down the right sideline before he's pushed out by Vashon Graham out to the 15.
And definitely good to see the Spartans getting the tight ends involved. This is a team that relies very heavily on its receivers, but every now and then you'll go to the tight end and it's just a crisp route right across the field. And Kuda scanning the field, finding his guy, another long gain for the boys in blue.
And the offensive line gave him tons of time to find Zipko, sprinting all the way across the field, coast to coast, east to west. 1st and 10 from the 19. Up the middle to Burke. Flag comes flying from the defensive secondary. Stop made by James Roundtree. But let's take a look at what the flag is. A look at Greg Debelak, 14th year head coach of the Spartans. And the flag will go against his boys.
You know, right before we went into the locker room at the half, we talked about Waynesburg and trying to address their penalties. I definitely think that that was a point of emphasis for Greg Debelak as well. You know, the Spartans had committed 7 penalties in just 2 games, and they've already got a few here today. Definitely don't want any more of those.
Kuda has Burke in the backfield. 4 wide receiver set. They'll dump it out to Fan on a wide receiver screen, taken down by Vashon Graham for a loss of 1.
Boy, Deshaun Graham gets 2 hands on Justin Fan, and then not enough room for the bubble screen to really, work right there. But, Justin Fan, such a tough guy to tackle in the open field. Cody Calhoun, told me the other day that by far the toughest guy to tackle that he has faced in his 4 years has been Justin Fan because of the speed and versatility of Fan. But, Waynesburg made it look really easy right there.
4 wide, Morgan and Zipko on the far side with Morgan at the top. Hurd in the slot left, Fan at the bottom of your screen. Kuda will look to Fan. He's got him at the 30. And the ball is loose after the hit. Waynesburg dives on it, and they have it as long as Fan wasn't down by contact. They will say it is recovered by Waynesburg.
Well, and this time they put Justin Fan on the outside, and Kuda puts it right on him. But, yeah, I think that's going to be, at the very least, a catch, and not too sure if he was down. So that's going to be Waynesburg football and an opportunity for the Yellow Jackets to really capitalize here.
John Glenn Davis knocked it out and recovered it. The junior wing linebacker from Waynesburg. And so that is the second turnover by the Spartans. Perone will give it to Wilson. And he is wrestled down by Alex Habib. How about Alex Habib tonight? A tackle for the loss there, an interception earlier.
Yeah, we've heard his name, once or twice here today. Big play Alex Habib. Definitely a part of a big-time core of linebackers. This is probably the best group of linebackers that the Spartans are going to see in a long time. What are the odds that all 4 of their linebackers in a 3-4 set would be in the same recruiting class?
And Habib is listed as a backup on the 2 deep. He's a senior as well. Wilson off to the left again. And nothing doing again. He might have gotten out to the line of scrimmage, which was at the 11. It'll set up 3rd down and long. Looks like they will spot it at the 11. 3rd and 14 to go with 8 minutes left in the 3rd quarter.
And of all of the passing plays that we've seen in the playbook of Chris Smithley and the Waynesburg offense, not a whole lot of them have been deep throws. I mean, we've seen a couple in the 10 to 20 range, but they're definitely going to need one of those here, really in stretching the field. Really need to get this 1st down here. Got to select a play that's going to get you the 1st down and avoid the underneath routes.
Grishaber and Walker at the bottom of your screen. There's a look at Daniel Fabiniak. Perone will throw it over the middle, trying to dump it off to Austin Wilson, but with the pressure coming, the throw too tall, and it's 4th down.
Yeah, that's one of the few times tonight where Perone was a little bit off the mark with his throw, but, I mean, they definitely lined up a couple receivers deep to the outside and ran some deep routes, but Perone didn't even give him a look, and so you had to settle for the underneath route, and it just doesn't get the job done.
R.J. Leone from his own end zone punts it away to Fan from his goal line. That's a pretty good punt. He'll get it out into Case territory. Fan will field it. He'll try to do something with it. Bumps it out to the left. Now kicks it back to the right. Trying to knife up the middle. And he will plunge ahead to the 40-yard line of the Yellow Jackets. That's a pretty good return for Justin Fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, all things considered, that's a lot of work and hard work done by Justin Fan. You never give up on a play like this if you're Justin Fan, because you know how skilled and gifted you are when the ball is in your hands. And look at the crafty usage of his blockers and making guys miss. Fan is just a very dynamic player and a special talent in this league.
He ran about 25 yards for a 13-yard return.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a lot of running for that play.
4 wide set for the Spartans. Faking the give, bubble screen Fan. That's for Hovsik on the tackle. Again, the bubble screen unsuccessful. The Spartans will pick up 2, 2nd and 8.
Well, and as Justin Fan, grows into the more typical outside receiver routes, I think they're going to continue to try to feed him the ball with those short crossing routes and bubble screens, but that one was just well defended by Waynesburg. Give him credit.
They're defending the short passes pretty well tonight. Handoff goes to Burke. Good bump coming from the offensive line, and Burke will get a first down out to the 30-yard line.
They've really utilized Burke effectively with the number of carries versus the rest that they have given him. I mean, they really rode him in the first quarter, and he had to come out and get a breather every now and then, but they are really doing an excellent job of, keeping him fresh and just keeping him healthy as the game goes on.
Over 100 yards rushing tonight for Jacob Burke. He'll get the carry again. A heavy workload. He'll get a couple. Well, it shows you, Eddie, not only how much they trust Burke, but how much they trust this offensive line to give the ball to Jacob again and again and again.
Well, and that's what Coach Debelak talked about, in the pregame interview, is that, once you get Burke going, it is just so difficult to stop him. And when you get a guy like Burke who puts a pounding on these linebackers, those poundings are going to add up as you get deeper into the game.
Kuda looking left, too far. Intended for Colton Morgan in the end zone. But pretty good coverage that time from Bryce Allen, the sophomore from Youngstown, Ohio. They're trying to get Colton Morgan involved a little bit more in the offense. Colt, the freshman out of Worcester, Ohio. He's been in a few series now. See if he stays in with this slew of changes.
And Andrew, with the depth that the Spartans have at wide receiver, that's a pretty big thing for a receiver to be throwing his name into the hat and getting into the mix, and he has earned the time for sure.
Morgan is at the bottom of your screen in a 5-wide set as they split out Miles Anthony to the right. Kuda pump faking and thrown in the turf, too short. Intended for Fan. And so 4th down coming up. Let's see what the Spartans do on 4th and 7.
Yeah, definitely have no reasons to suspect that the offense would come off the field in this situation, as aggressive as the Spartans like to be. So a lot of onlookers very hopeful for a 4th down conversion here.
5 wide again. Same group out there. Anthony, Spitali, Hurd, Fan, and Morgan. Kuda, he's going to use his legs, cuts it back at the 20, and knocked down at the 15 for a first down.
Boy, and Kuda has been a little quiet in the running game thus far. Only 4 carries in the first half. We're used to a lot more than that from him, but this is just taking what the defense gives you. That's not by design right there. The defense backed off, and Kuda saw an opening. It was just enough to keep the drive alive.
We took a licking from Austin Klein, the linebacker. But Kuda's tough. He'll throw it. It's tipped, incomplete. Looking left, looking for Morgan, but had that one batted away.
Morgan definitely can present a matchup problem with his size and his height and his ability to go up and get the football, and I think that's the idea that Kuda had right there. Just try to toss up a lob where only your guy can get it, but it was tipped away.
Bryce Allen on the breakup, 2nd and 10 from the 15. Spartans up 28-14, under 5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. The give to Burke, knifing up the middle. He's tripped up near the 5. First down marker is at the 5, and we'll see how they spot it. It will be a first down. So Burke gets the first. The Spartans out to the 5-yard line. Jacob Burke still out there.
And that is now
he'll take a seat.
And that is now 20 first downs for Case Western Reserve, so they have been so consistent tonight.
Burke will remain out there. They will push him forward out to about the 2-yard line. So Burke, that time setting up as the up man. He was the fullback in front of Aguilar.
Yeah, no matter how dominant a running back you are, you still need to mix it up and just respect the defense, because eventually, they can catch on to the scheme. But I think it's good to see the Spartans and Rob Kuda and company, getting him out of position every now and then just to try to throw a curveball to the defense and make them honest.
Well, Burke has 2 scores tonight. They'll give it to him again, pushing toward the goal line. What's the signal? Touchdown, Jacob Burke. 4 touchdowns last week, Eddy, 3 tonight.
And he was the first one to signal touchdown. Definitely no surprise there, but Burke powering his way forward and lowering his shoulder. That is where he is at his best in the play. Definitely over after the ball comes up, but how about Burke? Not even 7 quarters and 7 touchdowns. This man is just unstoppable, really raising a lot of eyebrows.
Almost blocked on that kick, but Ben Carniol kicks it through the uprights again. 35-14 Spartans, and Jacob Burke might do it again, Eddy. He is the only man in Spartan history to have 2 4-touchdown games in his career. He had one last week against Grove City College. He had one last year against this Waynesburg team on the road, and he's got 3 touchdowns for over 100 yards rushing. We'll see how many he has officially after that 2-yard run. But tonight he is having a heck of a ball game.
I'll tell you what, if any team knows the damage that Jacob Burke can do, Waynesburg has definitely been there and done that before. Definitely weren't hoping for a repeat performance of that tonight, but how about Burke with 3 touchdowns? I mean, this is as good a stretch of football as we have seen him play over his entire career. And I mean, he's getting it done with all of the members of the offensive line, and Kuda putting him in a good position to be successful, and things could not be going better for number 23 in the Spartans.
With his 3rd touchdown tonight, he now has 25, making him 3rd most in program history. One better than Frank Peters' 24. Waynesburg will start with it at about the 21-yard line after the Charles Poindexter return. So Burke now has 8 touchdowns this year, 25 in his career. He will need 7 more to catch Corey Checken at 32. He's 2nd in program history. Brandon McDowell has 39. So with a little ways to go in this season, Eddy, after today, 7 games remaining, this is territory that Burke can encroach upon.
He's going to make it interesting, no doubt about that.
Thrown to the far side by Perone. Catch made by Grishaber. 2nd down and still pretty long with 3:30 to go in the 3rd quarter.
You know, and I think that at the point in the game where the confidence level of Perone was at its highest was really at the end of the half, where he made some throws that were 15, 20 yards or more. But now we're starting to see some short routes. Definitely want to get his confidence back and going and really spread out the field.
By the way, Burke 137 yards rushing tonight, coming off a week in which he had run for 104 net yards. Now 3rd and 4 for Waynesburg on their own 27-yard line.
And Andrew, I would say that the biggest improvement for Burke in year 3 to year 4 has been his durability. I mean, you saw just about everybody in the staple of running backs for Spartans last year only because they ran the ball so much. Now it's become more of a one-man show because Burke, you can rely on him to run the ball 25 to 30 or more times if you need to.
Perone will not be picked off, but very nearly was. Oh boy, Shannon Demery thought he had one. 4th down.
Yeah, it's a pretty good read. Maybe a little bit of a wobbly pass right there, but definitely an opportunity for the Spartans to step in the way. But you force another punt, and that is what the Spartans defense has done all night. They have had so many of those where the Waynesburg drives have stalled.
The first few drives were 3 and out, and flags flying before the punt. R.J. Leone has punted for 233 yards today, Eddy, in 6 punts. So he has punted for more than the offense has gained today. 175 yards of offense, 233 yards of punting. A false start the call.
Yeah, it's never fun for your offense when, you know, your punter is getting this big of a workout. You know, no question about that. And, you know, he definitely have had to use all of that strength in that leg as much as he can. But, You know, the Spartans really doesn't matter where you put them starting field position wise. You know, they've got one of the best players in the league in Kuda.
Fan is waiting at his own 40. Leone gets it away at about his own 15. Fan inside the 40. Tries to reverse field. Tripped up, stays up. Tries to reverse again, cuts it back. His helmet comes off as he gets pushed to the 43, and a flag came in from the back.
You know, I would say the only problem with these types of returns is that there are opportunities for penalties when you cut back and you cut in and then you cut out. Just, you know, too many areas for the potential blockers to do something like that. I think it's probably going to be a block in the back, maybe what we just saw, and it is going against the Spartans. But, you know, maybe one of the drawback effects from a type of return like that, but you still let Justin Fan touch the ball every time they let him.
So the call is a block in the back on Case, and it will drop them back to their own 28-yard line. 2:07 to go in the third quarter, 35-14 Case. A good look at Joey Spitali, who's the left side man in the four receiver set for Rob Kuda. Flag immediately on the play after the give to Anthony. Poindexter on the tackle, a gain of 2, but this one likely coming back.
You know, the Spartan offensive line with all of the seniors and upperclassmen that they do have, definitely one of the more disciplined offensive lines in the conference. But, you know, as we mentioned before, 7 penalties in the first 2 games, and I do believe that that is either their 5th or their 6th now. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. So that is probably one thing that Spartans could do a little bit better in this game, and I'm sure that Coach Debelak will probably address that with them.
And it looks like a timeout, and an injury timeout, it would appear, in the defensive backfield. Take a look at who that might be as the head trainer comes out for Waynesburg. Andy Palco, the trainer, and coming off of the field for the Yellow Jackets is going to be Eric Ritz, the linebacker. So Ritz comes off. Hope for the best for him. Welcoming you inside the booth, Andrew Luftglass, along with Eddy Jansen, where the Spartans lead this one by the score of 35-14. And so far, the story, Eddy, has been Jacob Burke, the 3 touchdowns this evening, one away from, for the 3rd time, tying a school record.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. You know, number 23 is getting into the end zone at really record pace. I mean, you know, we turn the pages and we go through another quarter, another touchdown for Burke. I mean, they're just coming left and right. He's really established himself as that top dog in that running back core.
Deep ball for Aguilar, right in stride, into Waynesburg territory before he's taken down by Poindexter and Graham.
Boy, and I tell you what, Kuda has utilized Aguilar in the passing game. Kind of rare for a fullback to get involved, but this time they line him up as a wide receiver. Last time he caught it out of the backfield, but this is really taking it to another level and adding another dimension to this offense. Not many fullbacks that can line up outside and catch a deep ball from a great quarterback.
1st and 10 from the 35. Anthony in the backfield on a 3-wide set. The give to Anthony, off tackle right. He's got room up the middle. Taken down by Graham, shy of the 10.
Yeah, and you're definitely encouraged to see Miles Anthony getting involved in this running game with Burke on the sideline, giving him a nice breather and doing some damage. That's the speed and versatility that Anthony brings. Quite a change up to Burke, but it gives the defense a different look, and it worked out to perfection there.
Zach Hall checks in next to Aguilar. Zipko, Hunter Tulloch, and DeFrancesco are the wideouts. The give to Hall. Gets a couple before he's tripped up. So Case leading 35-14, 30 seconds to go in the third quarter. 2nd down and 7 from the 9. Anthony back into the ball game with Aguilar in the backfield.
And the Spartans really must be one of the best teams in the conference, if not in all D3, in red zone situations. They convert more often than not, obviously, because they have one of the best red zone weapons in Burke, but also have Rob Kuda. Don't take your eyes off of number 9 here. He's more than capable of taking off and scrambling.
They're perfect today in the red zone. They give to Aguilar his second score of the night.
Well, he has become more and more of a weapon in the passing game, and we didn't really hear much from Aguilar in the first couple games, but he has really made a name for himself tonight. In that one, they line him up at the traditional fullback spot, but he's still able to make a great catch and go into the end zone untouched. I mean, tell you what, you know, it's one thing if you're a quarterback and you utilize your receivers in the passing game. It's a whole nother thing if you can utilize your fullback.
Through the uprights. Ben Carniol, 42-14 Spartans. They continue to have a terrific game both through the air and on the ground.
Here's another look at the touchdown. A lot of room for Aguilar to work with. And, you know, you put so much emphasis on guarding in between the tackles because of the Spartans' red zone offensive weapons, but then you forget about a little guy like Aaron Aguilar, who goes into the flat and receives the pass from Kuda. So Kuda is one of the smartest quarterbacks in the leagues in terms of exploiting whatever the defense gives him. And if you load the box, he's going to go in the opposite direction and find a guy for an easy score.
So the Spartans with a 42-14 lead over Waynesburg. That was the last play of the third quarter. And Case on top big, trying to improve to 3-0. The Spartans at 18th in the polls coming into this week, despite a win last week, Eddy, and you talked about this off the air during halftime. That could be bulletin board material for Coach Debelak.
Yeah, I really do think so. And, you know, coming off of a big win last week, and then the Spartans actually dropped back one spot in the rankings, I think that was really a motivational factor for the Spartans team. Really put a little chip on their shoulder, and they wanted to go out and prove themselves once again today, even after a big win.
Jenkins fields the kick from Colderup, and he is brought down by Channon Demery at about the 24-yard line. Other games in the PAC today: Westminster over Bethany 41-14. Carnegie Mellon thrashing Thomas More 37-17. Thomas More drops to 1-3 on the 2017 campaign, and Carnegie Mellon remains undefeated with its win earlier today. They're 3-0 overall, 2-0 in the PAC. A big victory. Austin Wilson slashes up the middle, gets about 8 or 9 on that play. The other really interesting game today, Eddy, Geneva over Teal, 33-24. This one had a wild finish with Teal at home setting up for what could have been a game-tying field goal, had it blocked and returned for a touchdown on the last play of the game. Geneva won 33-24. St. Vincent is at Grove City College tonight. 0-3 St. Vincent taking on 2-1 St. Vincent. There's 0-3, excuse me, Grove City taking on 2-1 St. Vincent. Second down run on 2nd and 2. Don't think they got it, giving to Austin Wilson. And so 3rd and 1 the call on the 34. Right now it is a close one in the fourth quarter. The Bearcats leading Grove City 14-10. So that'll be something to keep your eye on. This Waynesburg team will go to play Grove City. They'll play at home against Grove City next week at 1:30. Pushing ahead on 3rd and 1. Looks like they got the first down.
And the Spartans definitely loaded the box right there with 7 blitzers at the line of scrimmage. But this offensive line of Waynesburg, they do have some size, so that's definitely going to be something that they're going to try to hang their hat on as they get deeper into the season, try to get some good protection for a young quarterback and try to get a running game going that's been ineffective for the most part on this season. But that offensive line does give them some potential, and it got them the first down there.
1st and 10 on their own 35. Perone tosses too far on the far sideline in search of Jake Doherty. By the way, Eddy, just as we're speaking, Grove City has taken the lead. the winless Wolverines now leading 17-14 over Case's next opponent, St. Vincent. They'll go to St. Vincent next week to play the now 2-1 Bearcats. Wesley Schools with the run to give the Wolverines the lead in search of their first win. A big bye this week in the pack. Undefeated Washington and Jefferson has the week off. They will take on Teal next Saturday at home. The ground game getting going a bit for Austin Wilson. Another pretty long gainer for Wilson. Gets near the first down marker, about a 9-yard run. 3rd and 1 to the 44. Not to look too far ahead, but that is a really, really important game for Washington and Jefferson coming up next week against Teal coming off of the bye, not slipping up. 3rd and 1, Perone. Toss is too tall. 4th down.
Yeah, and another great quality of the Spartans team defensively. I mean, they thrive on big plays. They forced a lot of fumbles and interceptions in the early part of the season, but just their ability to get off the field consistently on 3rd down. I mean, it forces a lot of punts. It's really demoralizing for an opponent offense. And, you know, on 3rd down in whatever situation, the Spartans defense just looks as prepared as any, as Waynesburg going to be aggressive here.
42-14, Case on top, 4th and 1. They're going for it. Incomplete, looking for Doherty. Munyarati Manguende on the coverage.
And
the sophomore.
They're definitely going to use Manguende in the future as a cornerback and defensive back that's really got some promising skills, some talent, and some athleticism, and he's gotten some looks in the 4th quarter of games in the early part of the year, and he's going to be one of their better athletes going forward, and he will definitely compete for a starting job in the cornerback spot in the very near future.
Turnover on downs. Munyaradzi Manguende probably will get a lot of looks in the 4th quarter of this game. Somebody else who will get a lot of looks, Julian Kennard, who will now take over for Rob Kuda in the shotgun. We'll see some reserves in this 4th quarter with the Spartans up big. This is a give up the gut for Miles Anthony. We'll see gives to Anthony. It looks like we'll see Zach Hall getting some carries. Hunter Tulloch is in there at wide receiver, along with Colt Morgan and Matthew Peterson. Kennard has 2 in the backfield. Hall along with Wassman. They'll give it to Hall. Hall knifing up the middle. Zach Hall diving to the end zone and just shy down at the 1.
Well, a big explosive play bursting into the secondary, and the Spartans running attack. It stays hot right here. Some big holes opening up, even with the second unit into the game, and definitely an encouraging sign for Case Western Reserve. Definitely don't want to take your foot off the gas pedal in the 4th quarter of a game like this.
The freshman from New Albany, Ohio, nearly at his first career touchdown. Now Kennard in the pistol snap. Hand off to Anthony, in for a score.
Well, it's another rushing touchdown for the Spartans, but they're definitely not going to put Burke back into the game. You want to keep him fresh for next week and keep him out of harm's way injury-wise, but the Spartan running attack just continuing to pummel opposing defenses as on the ground. They have really gotten off to a hot start and subsequently a hot finish here in quarter number 4.
Weston Salerno now on the PAT. That is good, and on the strength of Miles Anthony's first touchdown of the year, 49-14. Case Western Reserve University, 11:19 to go in regulation play in the 4th quarter.
You know, Andrew, we talk about all of these Spartans offensive players in particular, and they are really making a bit of Case Western Reserve history here, you know, with all of the things that they've been able to do, especially Rob Kuda. I mean, today it was all about Burke with the rushing touchdowns, but I really think that it starts with number 9 at the quarterback position. I mean, how rare a feat is it for you to see one player who is in the top 10 in both passing and rushing yards as well? Number 4 in passing yards all time, and number 8 rushing yards all time with 1,748 career yards. So, and he still has, you know, about 6 or 7 games to go. So Kuda is just going to continue to climb the ladder here. But, you know, it feels like there's all kinds of offensive accolades everywhere here for these seniors, especially in their 4th year.
And the next home game for the Spartans will be homecoming when they take on Bethany in 2 weeks. As Jenkins kicks that one out to the right. Salerno takes him down. Weston Salerno, the kicker on the far side, runs out Jenkins at about the 45. But what I was getting to, Eddie, in 2 weeks, you will have homecoming. The Spartans hit the road to St. Vincent next week, and then Bethany the week after coming home for homecoming, and it'll be Hall of Fame weekend. The Spartans will honor maybe the one man who has had a greater offensive career behind center as a Spartan, Dan Whalen, and his terrific teams from 06 to 09. Perrone with pressure coming. Dumps it off over the middle for Wilson. Out to about the 45 of the Spartans.
You know, going off of your point about Whalen, Andrew, I think that a lot of people in Spartanville really look to those years from 2006 to 2009 and say that that is the gold standard for Spartan football, and they really strive and achieve to try to get back to those times. And needless to say, they have done that here with Kuda, but I think Kuda definitely looking up to a guy like Whalen, who was so prolific in his career, even going pro.
Walker looks like he gets the first down yardage. Spinning ahead to the line to gain, so gain of about 1 for first down.
2 pretty good backs right there. Burke probably not going to get into the game at this point, having rushed for 3 touchdowns, but definitely not every day that you can say that, hey, I've scored 7 touchdowns in 2 games. So Burke is definitely going to relish this moment here and definitely let it all soak in.
He has 25 career touchdowns. Now a senior. Puts him 14 touchdowns away from matching the Case career touchdown record for career rushing touchdowns. Flag on Waynesburg drops them back to 1st and 15 from their own 49, or from the Spartan 49. It is doable. He's got to average 2 touchdowns a game the rest of the way, but it is doable for Jacob. Perrone looks over the middle. Incomplete. Off of the hands of Aaron Jenkins. And a diving effort in the defensive backfield by Cooper Tulloch. And Cooper couldn't come up with it. But we saw Luke Bedell get his first career interception last week. We almost saw the same for Cooper Tulloch.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we definitely don't want to forget that they are a part of the Sharks. You know, even in the second unit, the Cody Calhoun-led Sharks, so one of the better secondaries in the conference, and they have learned from some of the best, no doubt about it.
Perrone stepping up. He is sacked. The Sharks come swarming in, and this time it's Brett Marcus from outside linebacker.
Yeah, we definitely get to learn a lot of new names at this point in the game, and rightfully so, because a big pressure like that from the strong side of the offensive line, the Spartans getting another sack to their total. They just continue to rack up sacks. 5 sacks in the games coming into tonight's game, and that total just continues to climb.
So the Spartans on top 49-14, 9:15 left to go in the 4th quarter. 3rd and 19, here comes the rush. Perrone with a good pocket, slings it out to the right to Wilson. A long way to go, and he steps out of bounds on the far sideline. Contact made by Munyaradzi Mangwende to force him out for 4th down.
You know, once again, he gets involved in the play, and, you know, definitely a guy that can cover the length of the field. And, Yeah, definitely looking like Waynesburg going to stay on the field, and rightfully so. Why not take a shot at this point in the game and see what you have going forward? I think that they have not only the offensive line, but also a pretty darn good quarterback who has made some pretty good decision-making here this evening, all things considered.
4th and 8 from the 42. Perone, the sophomore, transferred from Division II Seton Hill after the 2015 season. Now he'll look out to the right to Wilson, trying to dive for the first down. It was very close. The Spartans are saying he didn't get it. Isaac Withrow on the tackle. He was giving the no sign. But it looks like they did get the first down. Wow. Was that ever close?
Well, you just give them a ton of credit for not giving up on this play. I mean, you're very, very close to going out of bounds, but tiptoeing your way around. And based on that, yeah, I definitely don't see any evidence that he would have stepped out.
Thrown over the middle. Tackle made on Brysinger by David Tregonza. The pickup gets them inside the 30-yard line to the 28, a gain of 6, 2nd and 4.
You know, Andrew, this is something that Waynesburg really did quite a bit in the first half. Their time of possession was really, really close. I mean, they stayed competitive with the Spartans in that regard. This is probably the longest that the Spartans defense has had to stay on the field, but it's a fresh pair of 11 players because of the secondary unit.
Perone fires it out left side. Good blocking for Walker down the sideline. He is pushed out by Tulloch. But enough for the first down. The chains move again, and Perone slowly pushing the offense up the field.
Yeah, that's really as good a block by a wide receiver as you're going to see. Didn't quite see it in the angle of that replay right there, but that was a wide open hole for the Yellow Jackets to run away with.
Perone with Doswell Hardrick in the backfield and 4 wide. Flag flies for offside on the Spartans. Pass caught on the far side by Booth. He is stopped short. His knee went down. The spot is at the 4-yard line. Booth thought he had stayed up, but he is down to make it 2nd and goal. A shoelace tackle made just in time, though Booth didn't think so. His knee must have just grazed that brand new artificial turf. Skylar Waiters checking in for the Spartans.
Yeah, and at this point in the game, you know, if you're Waynesburg, you're just looking to put points on the board and really put something positive in the tape going into next week. I mean, you've been able to score 2 touchdowns against one of the better defensive units that you've got on the schedule here this season, and an opportunity with a third, so you definitely don't want to miss this opportunity to punch into the end zone for the 3rd time.
They'll set it up as 1st and goal from the 4. They'll give it to Wilson. And stopped very quickly. Fabiniak in on the tackle along with Marcus.
And Andrew, I think if Waynesburg's going to get into the end zone here on this drive, it's probably going to have to be through the air, because we mentioned that the running game, although it's picked up a little bit of traction in the second half, it hasn't been as effective a running game as they would like it to be. But, you know, if you're Tyler Perone, your completion percentage as of right now is 60% when you're completing it at 43% for the year. So, you know, maybe rock back and throw and see what you have.
They'll throw it to Jones. Jawan Jones hangs on for his 2nd touchdown of the night. A quick route, and Perone fires it left to Jones, who had a step on his corner.
Well, and this is too good of a run defense to try to come up with something there, so you're going to have to, you know, find an open receiver, make it a simple little crossing route, and another touchdown thrown by Tyler Perone. And, you know, he's held his own against the Spartans defense and really has put up a solid game for his team. The only problem was the Spartans put up 49.
And that one through the uprights, courtesy of Garrett Guthrie. 49-21 Spartans. Tyler Perrone to Jawan Jones on a good crossing route. Jones had a step on Luke Bedell.
Special thank you goes out to all of the Case Western Reserve University sponsors, especially the Courtyard Marriott on Euclid Avenue. Make your reservation today by calling 216-791-5678. That's the Courtyard Marriott on Euclid Avenue at 216-791-5678.
And now the question, Eddy, becomes what do the Spartans do offensively? Do they give it to Julian Kennard under center again? Last week we saw Kennard for a series. Then we saw the freshman lefty Mason G. Montgomery. It'll be a different returning unit out there. No more Cody Calhoun. That looks like Zach Hall. Hall is out there for the Spartans, and he's joined out there by Chase Whitty. Hall on the near side, Whitty on the far. And Guthrie to kick it away.
You know, I know for sure that this is definitely looking way too far into the future, but you've got a heck of a quarterback to replace in a season, so definitely have to see what you have and try to get something of a litmus test here in the fourth quarter just to see with, you know, what you have for the 2018 season. I know it's definitely hard to not focus here on the 2017 season, but, you know, as it goes on, you know, you're going to have to find some options here, and especially if Kuda does go down, again, you definitely want to see what you have. You definitely hope that that never does happen, but definitely important just to get some reps at the backup quarterback position.
Yeah, and talking to the Spartans coaching staff, they don't even want to talk about next year and grooming guys for the future. They're just focused on riding the team they have, and obviously you do need to look a little bit into the future and use the reps that Kennard and Mason G. Montgomery get as litmus tests for the future, but they think it's going to be spring ball that really gets them the best looks at guys for next year. At carry to Sam Jenkins, and we do want to thank our Spartan sponsors this year, including Innova Living, located within minutes of Case Western Reserve University's campus and offering studio, 1- and 2-bedroom apartment and homes. Enjoy all-inclusive living with 24-hour concierge services, 24-hour fitness center, resident lounge, and more. Second down and 6 after the 4-yard run by Jenkins, out to the 17 after Chase Whitty had stumbled on the kick return. Kennard in the shotgun snap. Hands to Jenkins. Spins ahead for another couple. It'll be third down and about 3 to go.
Yeah, I think you're definitely expecting the Spartans to keep the ball on the ground at this moment, mostly because you just want to keep the clock rolling. I mean, there's still plenty of clock to eat with, you know, us being just inside of 5 minutes to go, but you know, you definitely want to focus on two things. You have to keep the clock going, and you really want to get this first down too. Don't want to punt the ball this late in the game.
Hall and Wassman in the backfield on third down. Kennard on the handoff to Hall, sweeping it out to the left. He did not get it. It'll set up fourth down. Once again, a big thank you to our Media Vision crew, Brian Landers and Shayna Perlman, our terrific camera folks today. Our video replay, Brian Trail, always on top of things. And our director tonight, as always, Mike Becker. Thank you, folks. From Eddy Jansen, I'm Andrew Luftglass. Very much appreciate all of your viewership. And for the folks upstairs doing the production, thank you so much for all you do on a week-to-week basis. That punt is fielded at about the 45-yard line, and not much for Maribel. We will have a week off. Spartan football won't have a week off, but our production crew and Eddy and myself will have the week off with the Spartans on the road. Case will return home for homecoming the following Saturday, October the 7th, against Bethany with a 1 o'clock kickoff. They're at St. Vincent this coming Saturday against the Bearcats. St. Vincent playing a tight one with Grove City, and right now, Grove City looking like they're getting the better of the Bearcats. 23-14, the 2-1 St. Vincent Bearcats in danger of being the first team to lose to Grove City this year. That ball's tipped and almost intercepted by Bedell, who would have had an interception 2 weeks in a row. But he gets the pass break up. The pass intended for Doherty.
An athletic play by Bedell right there, definitely emerging as a candidate for some playing time in the defensive secondary. But how about Waynesburg just committing, full out to Tyler Perone? I mean, usually even if you're on the wrong end of a lopsided score like this one, you usually don't see your starting quarterback this late in the game, but they have stayed committed to him, and I think that's a good sign that they're going to stay committed to him throughout the course of the year.
Hand off to Doswell Hardrick up the gut. So while the Spartans will hit the road to St. Vincent next week, Waynesburg gets Grove City, who looks like it might have a win on its ledger coming in to that contest. Grove City entering today at 0-3, as did Waynesburg. That kickoff for those two teams will be at Waynesburg at Wiley Stadium at 1:30. 3rd and 7 from the 48. 49-21, Spartans on top, under 3 minutes to play. Perone stepping up, in and out of the hands of Cole Booth. 4th down.
Well, again, not a lot you can do if you're Tyler Perone right there. And you have to kind of ask yourself, what if, Waynesburg, a running game, had been able to give him a little bit more support here than they did here today. Not that Austin Wilson had a bad game with 14 carries and 70 yards, but, if Waynesburg's offense had just a little bit more balance, and if Perone had had the protection in the first quarter that he had all game, you really start to wonder what is the limits of Tyler Perone, and really you could go places with this guy at quarterback.
4th and 7. Thrown deep for Grishaber and out of his reach. Too far intended for Grishaber, but the Spartans had really good coverage from Andrew Rossman. Incomplete and a turnover on downs. This should be the last series of the evening. So Case looking like it'll come away with a 49-21 win, unless they tack on some more here. Let's see who comes out under center for Case. We'll get a look at Ryan Coolidge. So Coolidge will take snaps as the quarterback. He's got Wassman in the backfield. So no Mason G. Montgomery. It'll be Coolidge taking over for Kennard. 3rd quarterback to get work tonight. Hand off to Wassman up the middle, and he is stacked up.
That's going to be the 5th different player that the Spartans have been able to run the ball with here, although Jacob Burke definitely getting most of the meaningful carries. But, that was a really big factor in the Spartans offense a season ago, just the number of different guys that they could run the football with, and they definitely have a lot of depth at that position, although a little bit more star-heavy with Burke having the success that he has had.
Jenkins will get another carry. On 2nd down and 7, he will get about 3 yards. They'll give him 4. 3rd and 3 from the 45, under 2 minutes to play. So Case traveling to Latrobe, Pennsylvania next week at Chuck Knoll Field to take on St. Vincent. Last year, Case with a 53-28 win over St. Vincent, but the Bearcats gave them trouble early, scoring the first 2 touchdowns of the game. Now Jenkins breaking 3 down the right side. Sam Jenkins in for what should be the final score of the night for the Spartans.
Well, that's going to make the second unit of the Spartans feel real good going into the season ahead, and next week, you're able to capitalize and put points on the board. Definitely gives them something to celebrate, and he hit the hole with authority right there, and it opened up for him, and all kinds of green grass ahead to punch ahead for the Spartans 8th touchdown of the game. And the Spartans, whenever they have gotten in position to score, they have scored it with authority. They have not settled for field goals here today.
The sophomore from Medina, Ohio with the touchdown, 55-21 Case, 56-21 after Weston Salerno puts it through the uprights. So the Spartans well on their way to a 3-0 start to the 2017 campaign, and a long run by Sam Jenkins to get the Case Western Reserve University Spartans yet another score tonight.
You know, we talk about the glory years and the Dan Whalen-led teams in that era having won 30 straight regular season games in a row. And I don't think we'll ever quite see that again. I think it is important to kind of remember that as special. But, you know, this time now is special in its own right. And it's led by an awful special quarterback in Rob Kuda and a very sizable and talented running back in Jacob Burke, and one of the best 3-4 defenses that is in this conference. And, you know, they may not win 30 games in a row, but, hey, I mean, they have a really good chance this year after just missing their goal a season ago to clinch a playoff berth and play into November.
And Greg Debelak will hate us for looking so far ahead, but you do have to circle on your calendar November 11th, the last game of the 2017 season. Jenkins again forced out by Salerno. Got a pretty good return out past the 40. But that is once again against Carnegie Mellon, this time at Carnegie Mellon against the Tartans with a 2 o'clock kick, the 32nd Annual Academic Bowl. And if the Spartans play like they've played in the first 3 weeks of the season, then it could once again be for a perfect campaign. Again, we're getting way out in front of ourselves, plenty of tough competition to come. But Case has looked every bit as good as they were last year. We'll see a new quarterback for Waynesburg, and he will not get very much. That was Tyler Sabinovich, who had a little bit of trouble with the high snap. Runs out to the right, and it'll set up 2nd down and 10 to go.
And Andrew, until we get to that point, until we really start to talk, you know, playoff potential that late in the season, I think that the Spartans, the number one thing that they can do to put themselves in that position is just stay healthy. I mean, it's needless to say, it's a roster that is built to win and built to win now. You know, they did have some injuries, which were a bit of a setback a season ago. But if they're able to go into Week 9 and Week 10 as healthy as they are now, the sky is the limit for this team. I mean, they have all of the pieces that they need to make some noise in the playoffs. So they just have to stay healthy, cannot have players off the field.
15 seconds left to go in this one. Spartans with a 56-21 lead over Waynesburg. Should be the last play of the game. Serbinovich takes the snap. He'll look over the middle. It is tipped and incomplete, and zeros on the clock. The Spartans improve to 3-0 with a 56-21 win over Waynesburg University tonight at DeSanto Field. Jacob Burke following up his 4-touchdown performance against Grove City College with 3 scores on the run, or 3 scores on the ground. Aaron Aguilar with a couple of touchdown receptions, and Rob Kuda throwing for 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards on 17 completions in 26 attempts. A terrific game by the Spartans on both sides of the football. They maintain their perfect mark at 3-0. They're now 2-0 in PAC play. Waynesburg drops to 0-4, and they are 0-2 in their first 2 President's Athletic Conference matchups of the season.